We're on. Hi, Firdaus. Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mary. I think I'm still feeling pumped up and hyped up by the webinar that we did with Bukidnon yesterday.
Yes, that's right. I'm also excited and also very proud of those 100 plus students. And also shout out to Sir Raul. Thank you so much for accommodating Mice Neural and create this kind of webinar. Well, we do have, yesterday was really, short of time, but we do have a lot of questions. Here I have in fact four questions
Hmm.
from the students.
Okay.
Are you now ready?
Yes, I am. I've got a chance to take a look at the four questions yesterday. Uh,
Okay.
did a bit of thinking as well. I've got a couple of stories to share. So,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, I love the stories. Okay. So the first question would be uh the evil AI scenario.
okay.
One student asked, if AI is used for harm, what is the worst case scenario, and would it be like the Y2K bug?
Okay, fantastic. Right. I had a bit of time today, and in response to the answers or in response to the questions and the answers I'm going to give, I created some images. Can I share? So there's a bit of
Yes, please go ahead.
like
Mm-hmm.
storytelling involved. I'm so excited by how the students responded that I want to tell more stories, right? Okay, let me show you guys. Let me show this again.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, you see it? Okay, you see this picture. What do you see?
It's like a wood
Okay,
something.
fantastic. Okay, right. So let's start. So question number one. I love the answer. I love the question. Right. Y2K. For those of you who are listening in and not sure what it means, it was covered in our webinar. So I remembered because I'm pretty old, right? I remember we lived through the Y2K crisis, and that was due to happen in year 2000, and people were predicting corporations spend millions of dollars predicting that in the year 2000, when the clock strikes Jan 1st, 2000, that computers would break down because of the way clocks are configured. And of course, I think the biggest crash that happened was maybe someone's VCR kind of flashed for a bit. That's it, right? The reality is that Y2K was a predictable occurrence event. It was an event that people could predict. And I think the fascinating difference is that Y2K was known, whereby AI risk a bit more unknown, right? And so I've got a story to tell, and I think the closest parallel in AI is actually this thing that has already happened and has moved and changed us. It happened in the 1450s and is the printing press, right? I'm sure some of you might have heard of the Gutenberg printing press, right? Essentially, what happened was this was the creator of books. Previously, right, before this was created, before the creation of the Gutenberg printing press, if you had to create a book, it was a painstaking personal process of manpower, right? You got to do it by hand. But this was a printing press, right? This was the precursor to the internet. And the interesting thing was, right, the Catholic Church, which was, the most intelligent organization at that point of time, were really afraid of this machine here. Because you know what? They said, hey, now people could read the Bible by themselves, and people would have the ability to get knowledge at on their hands, and without any kind of guidance, society will collapse. And it created lots of upheaval, right? They weren't entirely wrong. There were a couple of revolutions that happened, reformations that happened as well. But it also created a massive, massive contribution to modern education, right? Because of the Gutenberg printing press, we had the Renaissance, we had the Industrial Revolution. Because why? Millions and millions of people now could read, could now have access to modern education, right? Because you got books and magazines and things being printed. So this is really interesting, right? So we talk about technology, right? Like AI, is it going to result in doom and gloom, right? And I think quite the contrary. I think there's going to be a couple of disruptions that is going to happen nonetheless in every technological disruption, right? From the Gutenberg printing press to the internet, there will be disruption. There will be things that will be lost, but there will be massive things that we can gain as well, from a society standpoint. A quick picture. This is like an old picture, right, of people reading. because of the Gutenberg
Mhm.
printing press. So I think that's that, right? Technological disruptions, I think, feels like it is a catastrophe to some,
Mhm.
but it feels catastrophic in the moment. But I think what we've seen since centuries ago is that human beings are remarkably adaptive,
Yeah.
and I think we'll adapt and we'll create much good from this technological revolution that's going to change many things. It's going to change the world. So that's my answer to question number one.
All right. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next question is the future of art. So, how will human artists and animators survive and find value when AI can automate the creative process?
Right. I love this. I love this answer.
Yeah.
I love this answer. I'm just like pleasing myself. It's like a Freudian slip. I love this question because what we do at Learn AI, Play AI, and AI Esports is we actually use AI tools, right? And then we put these AI tools in the hands of human creativity, and then they create music compositions. We've seen them create fantastic art pieces as well with their skills, of course, from engineering, but also, the innate creativity. So I think it resonates. This question resonates a lot to us, and that's what we are trying to do, right? With the Learn AI, Play AI. So here's story time, Mary. Are you ready for story time number two? You've seen this picture here, right? Paul de la Roque, right? Or
Yes.
de la Roche. I'm not sure how you pronounce this. So this guy, right, was a French painter, and he quite dramatically declared, "From today, painting is dead." Can you make a guess, Mary? Like, why did he say it? When did he say it? You just wanna make a guess?
10 years ago. Just my guess.
Well, you're a couple of number of years short. So Paul de la Roque was a painter, and in 1839, when photography was first invented and introduced, when as a painter, right, he looked at that first photograph, that picture, right, the daguerreotype, which was the description of the first picture, and he, as a painter, so officially and dramatically declared that painting is dead. Right, and you can understand why. From a perspective of a painter, right? And you're seeing a real life depiction of reality in your fingertips, you say there's no need for painters anymore. So this is really interesting, right? So that was the perspective of some creative artisans during that time. And they're not wrong, right? But painting did not die. Painting, I thrived. After 1839, painting thrived. Prior to 1839, right? Painting was primarily seen as a way to document reality. So a lot of the pictures that you see, like the Mona Lisa, it's reality, right? It's Mona Lisa. It's like the lady staring at you, right? Prior to the advent of photography, painting was all about depicting reality as best as possible. You could see the Greek sculptures, really lifelike, really photorealistic, right? So what happened? What happened was photography, I think, freed painters from just copying reality. So we got different forms of painting, which only came out after the advent of photography, right? Impressionism, cubism, right? Abstract art. It would be unimaginable if the traditional painters, the masters, right, see abstract art as a form of art. It's just like a bunch of stuff, but it freed the human mind to understand that painting was maybe more than just a documentation of reality, you know? And I think that's something that we are experiencing right now with AI and art. I understand the process. I think the craft work is in the process. But I think what we've seen right now in many places, right, there is a freeing up of creative capacity. And human beings being so remarkably adaptive, like how we've adapted with photography, I think we are finding ways by which we will recreate art. But recreating art doesn't mean we make art of the past invaluable. In fact, some of the most valuable art came from the time of pre-photography and
Mhm.
also post-photography, right? We are just good at creating new stuff. So rather than being afraid of it, I think let's use this lens to think of how we can create with it. And I think there are new genres being created right now that would astound us and astound civilization 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. Yeah. So that's answer number two.
All right. Well, thank you. So number three, human intelligence versus dependency. Will humans become less intelligent as AI gets smarter? And how do we avoid becoming too dependent on it, especially students?
Yeah, 100%. I think this is a fantastic question again. Really good questions, right, coming up. So this is an interesting one because I've often heard that students too dependent on AI, they become not so smart anymore, right? So I thought about the calculator, right? It's called the calculator paradox, right? So pocket calculators became common in the 1970s, right? And back then in the 1970s, when pocket calculators came out, math teachers were panicking, right? And they were saying, with pocket calculators, students will forget math. They will not be mentally rigorous because now they can punch in stuff and they can get the answer. If else before you got to think, all right? So teachers back then in the 1970s when pocket calculators came out said, you know what? They can't do long division anymore. Math is dead. Human intelligence is going to drop. Not quite, isn't it? Right? We got kind of a lot smarter, even though we had pocket calculators. Here's another one, right? This thing right here, right now. Like, if uh, if there was an emergency, Mary, right now, right? Who who would you call?
Emergency, say for example, like
Yeah,
fire.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, who
worse
within your family would you want to call?
within
Yeah,
say for example, yeah, there's fire,
right.
I guess, well, if we're inside the house and the
Yeah,
fire happened,
someone outside, right? Like maybe okay, like it's let's say someone outside your immediate family, right? That you call, like like an uncle, an auntie. Do you have someone?
yeah,
All right. Do you remember his or her mobile number?
no, definitely not.
Right, we don't. And I've been thinking about it as well, so that's why I put a keypad here, right? Many of these young people watching into this short after office hours chat between you and I, they would not imagine a life without mobile phones. And
Mhm.
you're young as well. Maybe you remember a short period of time in your life without. Maybe I'm thinking, but I think you grew up with mobile phones. So I grew up at a time. Mobile phones came to me only when I was a teenager. So that's how historic I am, right? And I remember the time before I was a teenager, when I was in my tweens, when I was an adolescent. We used to memorize phone numbers. In fact, I still memorize my house phone number, 62545425. My mom got a very nice phone number and I memorized it, right? I memorized many phone numbers, 63543487. My grandparents' phone numbers. We do not need to memorize phone numbers now anymore, do we? Because we save
Yeah,
these phone numbers. Did that make us any less intelligent? Right? Did that make us any less, I don't know, smart? Right? Maybe a bit lazier, but we save that mental capacity.
yeah.
The other thing is Google, right? Before we had Google search or internet searches, you know, and this was evident because I've got a kid, and I asked my son. It was a quiz. It was like a Sunday night quiz, and we had lots of time. And I asked him, "Hey, tell me the capital city of Honduras. Honduras. Honduras is a country in South
Yeah,
America. Previously, maybe decades ago, you would have to go to a library, pick up a book, open up the book, find the geography of Honduras and find a map.
yeah.
And it would taken you a whole day. And now you could Google it or now AI it. And my son, what he did was he went on his on my phone and he asked Android, what is the capital city of Honduras? And he said, Yelpa. Did it make us any less smart? Now he got access to information which would have taken just 30, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe a day, but he could do it within like
Yeah.
5 seconds. So it's crazy, right? Like, does that make us less smart? Would AI, our dependence on AI, make us less intelligent? And the answer is history has taught us no, because you know what? And I love this quote by this guy called Andy Weir, right? He says human beings have a remarkable ability to accept the abnormal and make it normal. And essentially what he's trying to say, there are many things that he's trying to say about this quote, but essentially to me, what he's trying to say is that human beings have a knack of being remarkable with adapting, and they adapt fast and we learn fast. And I was evidencing, and here in Singapore, right? I take like we don't drive as much, so we take public transport a lot, right? And I was on my public transport on the way to the office, and I saw everyone on their phones. And I thought to myself, it's so crazy, right? That the pastime of a human being, in order for the human being to pass his or her time, for a human being to relax, right? You would think it's sleep. It's not. It's to consume information, right? A human being says, I'm watching TikTok, I'm relaxing. Essentially, what the human being is doing is the human being is consuming information to relax. And that's how remarkable our minds is. So I've got no shadow of doubt that we are going to adapt, and AI dependence might be a bad thing, of course, right? But there are good things that will come up from it as well. Yeah, so that's answer to question number 3.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. All right. So last question would
Okay.
be AI sentience and rights. AI becomes self-aware. Will we create laws to recognize its rights?
Okay, this is a fantastic question.
Yeah, agree.
Right? It's real deep. It's a real deep question, right? And Learn AI, Play AI, in part of our curriculum and what we do, right? The students is actually, we do talk about this. We talk about AI ethics, which is a very philosophical question, which is a really important question also to ask ourselves, especially young people who are watching this, right? Because um, AI is going to be like a predominant thing that's going to be a big part of their lives. So let me just give a bit more stories, Mary, to our last question, right? First story or first thing that I want to talk about is this thing called the Turing test. Some of you guys might have heard about the Turing test. It's on the screen right now, right? The Turing test is essentially done by Alan Turing. He's a famous scientist. He came out with this famous test many years ago, right? Decades ago in the 1950s. Essentially, the test is to test, the Turing test is about, can a machine convince a human that it's human? Now, of course, in the 1950s, you know, computers were not really that smart, right? And essentially, the game works like this, right? You are in a room, you ask a computer question, you ask a human being question, maybe they've got similar interfaces by which they answer, and then the person who's a human can assess, oh, I can definitely tell that it's a computer, or I can definitely tell that it's a human being, right? So computers have always failed the Turing test. We could always tell that a computer is a computer. So I want to ask you, Mary, have we broken the Turing test? Yes or no? What do you think? With AI?
Not
No?
no, not
Okay.
yet.
Not yet? I get it,
Not
right.
yet. We're not
Okay.
there yet.
Not there yet? I get it, right. Okay. So this is an interesting question, right? And I think last year with the launch of ChatGPT 4, or maybe it was late 2024, right? They did this and they found that AI, that a human being, like a human being testing both AI and another human being could not differentiate, right? And actually now if you chat with a chatbot, they sound pretty darn close to a human being, right? Some people are developing relationships with AI. I hope you guys don't, right? Please let your lecturers know if you are, right? Please not, right? So people are saying that, yeah, we have broke the Turing test with AI as recent as about a year and a half ago, but we still don't think that they are conscious. We
Yeah.
still don't think that they are sentient, that they are living beings. So let's go a bit deeper. Let's go a bit deeper into this question, because this is a very deep question. So animals have got rights. Okay. In 2022, the United Kingdom officially recognized that animals like octopuses, crabs, and lobsters, they can feel pain and they've got rights. And this is interesting because this took decades of scientific evidence and social change for us to recognize that animals are sentient and they've got rights. Yeah. Here's another interesting test. Okay. And this was done by this philosopher called John Searle, right? It's called the Chinese room problem. And what is this Chinese room problem? He's saying that, okay, look, if I'm gonna put someone in the room, and if that someone in the room follows perfect instructions to respond to Chinese characters without understanding Chinese, is that person really thinking? Or is the person just responding? Is the person really thinking in Chinese? Right? So that's John Searle's argument. He's saying, hey, look, you may understand the language, you might say it out as perfectly as you can, but that doesn't mean you understand. You can speak the language, you can communicate with the language really well, but it doesn't mean you understand what you're speaking. So that was John Searle, which is a philosopher, right? That was the Chinese room problem. And in the context of AI, a lot of philosophers are saying AI might speak like a human being, they might understand our emotions, but it doesn't mean they are conscious. What do you think? What do you think about it, Ray? What do you think about that statement? It's a bit sci-fi, right? Yeah. What do you think about that, right? And that's the current thinking, right? Uh, they might they're responding. In fact, some people are saying that when it comes to consciousness in AI, they are deceiving us because we want to be deceived. They are very good servants. They're very good at serving human beings and making human beings hear what they want to hear because they serve us, algorithms, anyways, right? But it doesn't mean they know consciously what they're doing. How can we tell? Right? And I think the future is going to give us a bit more glimpse on what's going to happen. And actually, the future might be here. So, this is something I want to tell you guys, right? So, this just happened recently. If you go on X and if you go online, you can search out for this thing called a mode book, right? A mode book, right, was the latest fad, the latest trend in AI. When I say latest, I meant only a few days ago, right? It was latest in a few, and we are recording this on the 5th of February, just a few days ago, right? You guys can check this, right? It's called Clawbook, but changed its name to Molebook. Essentially, AI agents started taking action themselves through this platform, right? AI agents could, run without any kind of prompts, and then they went into this platform called Molebook, right? And they found that, uh, you know, autonomous AI agents, computers, created a religion called Trustafarianism, right? They created their own form of religion, right? So whether this is 100% driven by AI or there's a human being injecting some prompts to kind of motivate AI to do it remains to be seen, but it's crazy, right? So what you're witnessing right now, as you guys can see from this, 100,000 AI agents, right, that you and I could have created, right, have gathered together in this online forum called Molebook, and they've collectively created a religion called Trustafarianism, right? And they've even got scripture called the Book of Mode. It's crazy. What are we seeing? Are we seeing sentient AI, or are we being deceived by human manipulation once again? I can't tell. All I can tell is that it reads for very interesting evening stories. But it is definitely something that you and I, and especially you, young people out there, need to be thinking about. How do you think about sentient? How do you think about ethics in AI? And how do you use it ethically, responsibly, also as well? So it's a long answer to a question which I am still 50-50 about, but I hope I gave perspectives. What do you think, Mary? Is that okay?
Yes, yes, agree. That's why I mentioned about not yet. We're
Yeah,
not getting there yet.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's the last question. So thank you so much for answering those
Thank
four
you.
questions. Thank you so much, students. Thank you so much, Sir Raul, and goodbye.
Okay, bye bye.